live. I see live now. But I still see that the host has not joined yet. I don't know what that means.
Do you see us both in the screen above?
I do.
Okay,
Then
we're gonna go with it.
all right. Then. Okay.
Don't you love technology,
I
Joyce
do.
Burgess?
I do. I love it. I love technology so much. I've grown
Oh,
to love it anyway. Believe me.
we
When
don't have a choice.
when I didn't know anything about it, I was confused and didn't know what I was doing or what I had to do, or even if I had to do anything. So it was not something I liked at first.
Ah, it's a necessary fact of life right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we are live on Facebook. I am going to, let's see, I'm going to see if I give us a moment to kind of share this out. I need to make sure that I've got it on public so that other people that join us
Mm-hmm.
can share it as well. So that's what we do when we start these Facebook Lives and learning how to get all this technology synced up together.
Oh, you're good at this.
I'm learning.
You are
I am
so
what you
good at
call
this.
a continual learner,
Learner.
continual learner,
That
lifelong
helps.
learner.
That helps to want to learn for sure. That helps. Let me see which glasses look best. Well,
Okay, give me a second here. We're still, while everyone's tuning into us,
we
giving it
have
a
people tuning
moment to,
in.
we're going to see. I want to share it live. I want to make it public my page, and then people can come on and then they can share, they can participate as well. But I need to make it public. All right, now everything should be public.
All righty.
Be sharing. If you want to go to my profile page and share it out to your page, let me see if I can share this to your page. I think I can. Where do you want me to share this? To your
Forest Burgess Homeschool.
Joyce Burgess Homeschool. I'm going to share now to
Yes,
Joyce
ma'am.
Burgess Homeschool. Share. Now everything should
I
be
see
public.
us.
All right. Be sharing. If you want to go to my okay. Do you see it on your page or you see it on mine?
I saw it on yours. I had a
Can you
notification.
share? Can you, if you get it, if you're on there, can you go ahead and share it since you're there?
Okay.
It's me a problem. I'm gonna
I
share. I got a lot of windows open. Homeschool.
Setting.
And then once you share it, you can close it. Share now. Everything.
I see us.
All right, everyone. Sharing. If you want to go to my.
So I need to get out of this because
You
there's
see it on
such
your
a.
page? Yeah. You see it on mine. Once you get it on your page, just go ahead and close out of that.
I don't. It hadn't come to my page yet.
Okay. We can always share it afterwards too. That's not a problem.
All right.
So you get to watch us kind of go through the ins and outs of learning new technologies. We're actually broadcasting from a new platform. I have a total new setup here. I got a wonderful Mother's Day present from the hubby, and I upgraded my equipment. So it was long overdue. So I've just got a whole production training studio going on here that I'm breaking in. So I'm loving that.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so having us come on here today, Joyce and I have been having some conversations about the last time we were on together, we were talking about parents as educators. We were talking about some things that are coming down the pike with this whole distance learning subject and what we need to be aware of. And we wanted to come back and give you a few updates. And I'm going to let Joyce Burgess, those of you that have not met her, she is one of the co-founders of the National Black Home Educators Organization, as well as she's on the school board, and she's running for mayor. Oh my goodness, I'm surprised she even has time to have a conversation with me. She is just all things to all people, and she's wonderful at that. So Joyce, you do have some updates we were discussing. I said, let's go live with some updates and then we can give some other information as well. But you had just received something from the CDC regarding how the schools are considering doing in the fall. You want to talk to us about that a little bit? That's hot off the press. I'd like to hear more about that.
Sure. Of course, we know that, first of all, I want to say hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. And as you know, with the COVID-19, there have been major changes in our country and, of course, in our states, and now definitely down to the local levels. We have, I serve on the school board in my local community. And of course, I'm a 30-year veteran homeschool mom. And, as an educator, you not only educate your children, but you branch out and you expand yourself, increase yourself, because as you work with children, you see that as an opportunity to reach into the next generation. And we always want to make sure that our children get a first class education. So, having gone from a homeschool mom over to a local school board member, being a part of other children's lives, that's just something I love to do. I'm passionate about it, and I'm just honored to be able to serve. But serving on the school board, you get these updates, and I got this update recently from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, about what it's going to look like for our children to go back to school, what it could possibly look like when our children return to school in the fall. And of course, they're talking about all children over the age of 2 years old wearing masks. And they're talking about no sharing of any items or supplies or belongings in individual cubbies or labeled containers to be taken home and cleaned at home daily. I'm just going to give you a few. They're talking about distancing on the school buses, 1 child per seat, and then, of course, skipping a row. Another thing they're talking about is no field trips, they're limiting exposure to crowds for kids. Another thing they're talking about is the seating, having the children sit 6 feet to maybe 10 feet away. And of course, no transferring of classrooms, that the students will come to class and have to stay with that entire staff and teacher all day. And of course, I did say the school would be limited to volunteers who could be a part of the school. The children would have to stay with the same staff all day, no switching groups and no switching teachers. Students would stagger arrival, which is something I thought about. Of course, this would entail amping up staff for bus driving, but it says that stagger arrival and departure times for kids or for students to limit exposure to crowds for students, meaning that some children may come to school for, say, 4 hours a day, go home, and then there's another group of kids that may come for a certain amount of time and then go home. And of course, that's a lot of increased staff for school bus drivers. So just, the changes that are happening, and, how do parents feel about that, Angela? How do parents feel about, and I know that the CDC and local school districts, they're trying to do the best they can, because this is new to everybody. I mean, we've been in this position before, and we all want to be compassionate and sympathetic toward our leaders and toward the people who serve us, but we want to do what's best for what we think is best and what's safest for parents and children. And so I just want to know, in your conversations, as we're having this conversation, parents, please comment. I can't see the comments, but I think Angela can.
I can.
Please comment as to how you feel about these changes, these possible changes that could happen in the next school year. Or do you feel comfortable saying, you know what, I just rather educate at home? Whatever the case is, if you choose to educate at home, or if you choose to go with the parameters that have been set for you, parents, your role with your child's education has been amped up. It's time even more for parents to become more involved, become more engaged, more connected to their child's education, because even mentally, psychologically, we really don't know how this is going to affect children. Having to sit 6 feet apart, not go into the cafeteria, have lunch in your classroom, not really being able to touch anyone. And I remember as a homeschool mom, 30-some years ago, the main question was, Angela, you can probably guess what that is. And if parents, if you know what it is and you type it in our comments. What about socialization?
Okay.
And I think as homeschoolers, we've dealt with that. But children are natural socializers. They're natural at, wanting to be close to each other in their lessons and, having fun in the lunchroom. So what is that going to look like for socialization for our children once they go
Right.
back to school? And
Right.
as a school board leader, these are some of the decisions that me and my teammates on the school board, these are some of the things that we're going to have, decisions that we're going to have to make for our district. What is that
Mhm.
going to look like for our children?
Mhm.
So having said that, those were some of the guidelines that are proposed to local school districts across the country.
Mhm. And as you said, some of the
Yeah.
guidelines. That's not all of them.
And even still, it's going to be a test to see if this works. And if, some of them don't work, they get tossed out and maybe
Sure.
more suggestions will come through. But, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
It's going to be interesting. And above all, how are they going to monitor? I mean, you get a
Yeah.
bunch of school bus kids together.
And then they're talking about taking the
And,
temperature. They're talking
oh,
about taking the children's
wow.
temperature once they enter the classroom. But I'm thinking,
You have to do it
temperature,
before you get on the bus,
do it
because if you
before
get
you-
a temp on the bus,
exactly.
you spread it, but everyone on the bus by the time you get to school. Yeah, it's so different. It's so different that you wonder how soon they'll be able to implement some of these things.
Mhm.
And I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression when we come on here and we talk about things. It's not out of fear. Oh my God, they're going to do all this stuff and we got to rebel. It's none of that. My main concern in my heart, and anyone that knows me knows my passion is for the children first and foremost. And I think the best way for me to help my child is to understand what's going on. And I said it before, just like I gave the illustration with, and everyone doesn't do that, and I'm okay with that, and I'm not suggesting that, but because I wanted my son to be educated about computer topics, technology topics, I was able to go and get my Google certification because I want to know what you're teaching in education concerning that subject. Everyone doesn't have to do that, but that was just what I felt like I could do and I could help bring for what he wasn't getting in the classroom. I'm like, okay, I can expose him to some things, and I have.
Mhm.
So it's the same thing in this situation. If we want, I think part of the reason that some people just fall to fear, and that's the first response, is because they're not knowledgeable of what options are. They're
Right.
not knowledgeable of what the truth is, of what's really, truth or fiction, or, storytelling that they, pass along. So we have to be, as parents, aware of what's knowledge and what's really coming down the pike. And then if that's the case, what are our options as parents? How do we protect our children, or how do we prepare whatever the decision is? Now, not by any means are we saying now everybody's got to take their kids out and homeschool them because they don't know what they're doing and all that. We're not even saying that. If you choose to do that, amen, fine, that's fine. But if you homeschool or not, there's a period of time where we're all going to be at home with our children, and we have to be knowledgeable of what we can do. It's almost like putting the power back in the hands of the parents, right? So that they understand what the options are and they understand what's coming down the pipe. And then we can make, with your household, you make that decision that's best for you. So what we want to do, and what I'm not hearing a lot of, is a conversation with the parents, right? And then we've just set up a page, parents as educators. We
Yeah.
really want to bring some people to the table. I'm in conversations with some people behind the scenes that have a voice in this. Of course, Joyce Burgess has a wonderful, strong voice in this subject as well. Get some teachers, at the table with us. And with this whole pandemic, and with distance learning, even if they do blend it when we go back, and then it's still part-time distance learning. I've heard a lot of different things. They've come to school, just like you said, a few hours, and the rest of the time will be distance learning and all of that. Well, there are so many kids that are being left out of the conversation. They're just, because they don't have access to distance learning. So if the parents are in that situation, what are the parents' options in that, or how is we How do we as a community come together and help to make sure that those kids don't fall behind? So there's a lot to be said, and I just want to Joyce and I have volunteered and kind of raised our hands to say we want to kind of bring the people to the table to help and bring the resources to the table as well.
Yes.
So we're starting off by creating that Facebook page, Parents as Educators. I'm going to put the post because I'm on a different platform. I'm not on Facebook at the moment. But after this broadcast, I'm going to put the link in the comments below, so you can go and like the page if you want to follow this conversation. You want to stay up to date as to the information that's coming down the pike. We're also, as a part of helping parents, we're also pulling together tools and resources, things to help bring knowledge to the parent. Joyce has been homeschooling. She's homeschooled for over 30 years. Oh my goodness, she has and that's a good note. I've got her little book right here. She just wrote a book.
Yes, I did. Yes. Teach me. I'll tell you how that title started, Angela. I was at lunch with the mom, sharing my experience about homeschooling one day. And, just telling my story. And she said, I'm interested. She said, would you teach me how to teach my child? And so that's how that title came about. But the book is my journey to homeschooling, and what I've learned and how I learned to teach, and just how this is a very simple book. Sometimes we don't always know how to navigate the big curriculum or the companies out there, and you just need something one-on-one, something simple that you can do with your child to make sure that they're getting what they need. And that's what Teach Me How to Teach My Child is all about.
Wonderful. It's available on Amazon. And she didn't ask me to promote it. I wanted to promote it because it's some very good information in there. Just the basics of how you get started of teaching your child, homeschool or not. You're a parent. You want to learn how to teach your child, from someone that has that experience. Then I highly recommend this book. She has supplemental lessons in there as well that she's put together, that she's used. So there's material right there. What we're doing, and the beautiful thing about our partnership is that she's got the materials that have been tested through time, right? And then I bring the layer of technology onto that. And I've helped her digitize her lessons. Same content, same strong material, everything is authentic as far as the content of the lessons, but they're available through Google Classroom. We actually set those up on Google Classroom. She has a Google for Education platform for her homeschool, and we went in and we partnered together and we worked to get her classes digitized, so they're available online. Absolutely. So you may not have known this before you viewed this little live stream, but now you know. And these are some of the resources we want to continue to bring to the table for parents. You have access to Joyce. You can ask her questions. You have access to the technology resources if you need to ask questions about distance learning. That's what we want to bring to the table, and that's what we want to provide for the parents. We're also looking to pull together a webinar where we bring some of these subject matter experts to the table to answer questions for parents and to help, kind of be a think tank and bring some solutions out of our discussion as to how we can, and I'm always saying, as a community, work together to bring these resources to the table. Right. I would love to have some nonprofit leaders. I would love to have ministry leaders. Those of you that are over youth groups, that's a total, I think, beautiful marriage of bringing some of this information to kids that don't have internet access. So I'm in conversations with pastors and wives and saying, do you see where this can be used or how you could use that? And we're helping give them the materials and the tools to set this up so their people can plug into this information. We want to make it as simple as possible. So we're putting together some resources that's almost like plug and play. If you need quality resources for your kids, if you need the training as a parent, we're putting all of this together. So it's something that's easy and it's something that's accessible. So again, parents as educators, that Facebook group is where we'll be rolling out that information. But what else are you thinking about this subject, Joyce, as we move forward? What is one of the important things that you think parents should do?
Well, one of the things for sure is, I know when I first started, when I became engaged in my children's education, I didn't know what I wanted my child to learn.
Mhm.
I mean, even now I can see how the world has changed educationally since I started homeschooling my children.
Yeah.
Change from a social perspective, but also just the way kids learn, just the way students learn. And so I didn't really know what to teach or what I should teach. I did know that as a parent, I wanted them to at least know what I knew in life. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Right.
I mean, you want them to know the basics. You
Mhm.
want them to have great character.
Mhm.
You want them to have a skill set, even along with the academics and education. I wanted my children to have a skill set to be able to earn an income.
Mhm. Mhm.
One thing is sure, your children won't be children long. You know, they're not going to stay children. So you have to prepare them to live in a world that's different from the world that you grew up in and that helped to form your opinions and ideals. Those children are going to have to learn to think critically. And I believe that what we're doing with the content of lessons that we are recommending, and then the way you are doing things from a technology perspective, I do believe that this is going to help parents to rear their children to be productive citizens in our society, no matter what they choose to do. I
Exactly.
remember specifically teaching. One of my daughters graduated from a local college here, but she ran a business while she was being educated. She had a little baking business to where she baked cupcakes and she baked cookies. And so she could still earn a living right now if she wanted to. She could earn a real good living with all of the technology that we have nowadays, and with certain companies like Amazon that will help you to establish your businesses. And now, of course, with this COVID-19, how there are funding sources for people with small businesses. So I prepared her to be able to be productive without necessarily concentrating so much on academics, because parents need to understand that academics is very important where children are concerned.
Yes.
I mean, when you think about it as a whole, 100%, academics may make up less than 30%. It's
Wow.
important, but it may make up less than 30% of everything else, like character.
Mm.
Suppose they decide, and then earning an income, and then their spirituality. And I don't want parents to forget that while you're teaching children, don't forget to teach them that spiritual aspect
Right.
of who they are, because
Right.
that's what's going to sustain them. I mean, it's just so much, there's so much that we can say, and so much that I can say after raising 5 children and teaching 5 children. And even
Right.
now that I serve on the school board and having that interaction with my community children, for years
Mhm.
I read books to my community, children that were in my neighborhood. I would read books. I tutored children in my neighborhood. So just because I raised my own children, I have a heart that has a capacity to love all children. And I think as moms, specifically speaking, mothers who are the queen of communities, the queens of communities, we have got to gather our children into our arms and we've got to educate them. I've seen our first lady, our governor's wife in Louisiana, I've seen her read online to children. I've
Wow.
seen our mayor in our parish do the same thing. Some of our local news reporters are reading to children online. Even I've seen First Lady Michelle Obama, when she was President Obama was president. Of course, she's past First Lady. Golly, I didn't need to say all that. But anyway, I've seen Michelle Obama read to children online and to have like a reading hour. So as women, we have to extend ourselves so that we can, just gather children to ourselves so that we can begin to teach those children. And so having said that, academics is still about 30% of a child's, the whole child, when you look at that. And it's so important, parents, that we find that curriculum, find that commitment to being with our children and to teaching them, and to knowing that they are going to be they're going to face a world that you didn't have to face, and we have to prepare them. And that world is full of technology.
Yes.
As a parent, you may not know how to quote unquote teach, but you know the ruling or the principle that they need to learn. You know that they need to learn, and they need to learn something well. So you can find the supplies, the materials, the resources that you need to build your child's educational platform. And that's where we are here to help you do that.
And to make it simple, it doesn't have, I know sometimes we're thinking, first of all, I've got to teach my child at home. That's a whole different topic of its own. But then to add technology onto it, it's just, sometimes we just mentally it's too much.
Exactly.
It's too much. It's too soon. We got to do it right now, So we want to take some of that out of it.
The thing that's so good about it is it's very simple. After all the years of teaching my children at home, I see now just how simple it really was. It's like 5 children. How do you teach children of different ages? How do you teach children with different learning groups? How do you teach children in your community? How do you teach children, who may not know how to read and they're 16 years old?
Right.
It's called stick-to-itiveness. It's called repetition. It's called discipline. It's called doing the same thing over and over. And I know as parents, you may get bored with it, but believe me, it is helping your child, and it's moving your child where they need to be. And who's in a rush? Where are we going? What do we have to do?
Right now.
Just spend time teaching those children, because I'm telling you, you as a parent are the only ones with a vested interest in your child's future, for good or for bad. You will have to deal with that child. And guess what? They're going to get married. They're going to have more children. And you have to make sure that child is self-governing, self-reliant. And you build all of the curriculum resources. You create that to support what you want your child to become.
And that's great. And we want to spend more time on this and kind of break this down. But yeah, again, as I mentioned before, we want to bring the parents to the table that are concerned about this subject, and just equip them with tools and resources, and just kind of take your hand and walk you through some of the basics. It doesn't have to get all deep and complicated. Let's just kind of demystify all of this and just say, look, let's just take it a stage at a time, and let's add this, and let's learn this together. I think if we pull together as a community, we can do some great things.
Oh yeah, and parents, I want you to know too that 2 + 2 is still 4. I know that there are different ways to get to it.
Right.
There are different ways that I can go to California, but the end of the line is I want to be in California, and California is my destination. So 2 + 2 is still 4. So don't be confused about all of these Common Core or all of these methods of teaching. Just keep it simple. I'm sure you remember that from your parents. You remember that from your grandparents.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Absolutely.
And it still works, right, Angela?
It works.
Yeah.
It works.
It still works. Keeping it simple.
This has been great. I hate to cut it here, but we've been on almost 30 minutes. I try to keep these, at least semi, because you've got things to do, and, I've got another training to be on in just a few minutes. But thank you for your time today. We're going to invite, again, I'm going to post the link to Parents as Educators. We're going to have a live Zoom call with some subject matter experts, and bring them to the table. We don't want to just broadcast it all over Facebook, but we want.
So you did talk about the conference. You did talk about the conference, right? And
Yes, on the Zoom call for it's the informational session, because we are looking at in 2 weeks doing a conference as well. You'll get more information on that. And I think we're going to have to come back, Joyce, and do a part 2 live
Yeah.
and just talk about the conference, because that's, that's another topic as well. And we want to kind of take time and break that down as well.
We
But
can do
just know that, yeah, this was just to say that we've got Parents as Educators Facebook page where we're rolling out information about the conference, where we're rolling out resources that parents can tap into immediately, et cetera, et cetera. I want to post some things there that just kind of help ease your mind about technology, and we can just move forward from there. But that'll be our communication-based Parents as Educators Facebook page.
Sounds
So
good.
thank you again, Joyce. You're a jewel for
So
just sharing this and being willing to just share your years of experience and your wisdom to kind of help us younger mothers just say, woosah, it's going to be all right.
definitely. I mean, I love doing that. I just know that it's simple. It's challenging, but
Right.
it's like exercising.
Yes.
You
So worth it, right? This challenge is worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You build strength. And
Right.
that's what we need. That's what families need. We need to build strong families.
And it's always better with a friend, even exercise. It's better with some support, right?
Definitely.
Someone to help along the way. Very good.
Always.
Love you, lady. I'm going to let you go. God bless you. We will be back with more information. Just start. If you have any comments or questions about technology or questions for Joyce, put them in the comments here and we can reply back. And again, we're going to get you connected to that Facebook page so you can get more information and more voices at the table. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Joyce. Appreciate you. We're going to talk to you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day, lady.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.